All right. Welcome. This is the first official Ask a Lawyer live stream. So I'm going to just tell you straight out. Yes, I'm David Otunga. I am a licensed lawyer, but I am not your lawyer, not unless you pay me and retain me. So by whatever I say here does not constitute an attorney-client privilege. It does not. There's no money exchanged, and I am not giving you legal advice. I'm going to just talk and educate. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. So we've asked people to submit questions, hypotheticals, just interesting topics they want to know more about. So I'm going to read some of the responses and we'll see what happens. If people comment and have questions, please feel free. Contribute and I'll see if I can address all of them. So here we have one right here. Angelique 1. I'm low-key scared. Angelique, I believe you submitted a question. Angelique is more nervous and scared, but thankful for the advice. Okay, appreciate that. So again, Angelique, this is education. It's not legal advice per se. Not your attorney, but let's start. Let's see if I can pull up your email. I got my guy Steve standing by. All right. Oh, look at that. Steve's right on it. So also, I've tried to redact this and keep this as confidential as possible, but we'll try to do this here. So yeah, can we pull? Okay. So this apparently involves workplace harassment. So she had to file a bullying and harassment complaint against her now former supervisor. He lives and works her state. He's been with the company. Okay. They have monthly meetings with our entire team, which only consist of a small number of people, including our supervisor. In each meeting, since I started the job, I always take notes. On that day, something told me to audio record. And yes, she submitted an audio recording, which I listened to. I would play here, but I'm not so certain. Not so certain we could do that. Rather just be careful, and we'll refer to it. But and also she is in a state with only one party consent, so it was indeed legal to record. I know what the state is, but it's redacted. So let's get in here. So yeah, upon reflection, it was probably my intuition kicking in. As the meeting is going on, my supervisor gets to a section in her notes for proper grooming in the workplace and talks about wearing the proper business casual attire we must wear at work. But she proceeded to specifically call me out in front of the team and said that I have been coming into work unkempt and sloppy. Okay, so Angelique is in this meeting and her supervisor starts talking about, grooming in the workplace and basically calls her out in front of everybody and says that she looks unkempt and sloppy. Obviously that, could be extremely embarrassing, traumatic. Let's continue. Oh, she proceeded to talk about my hair and how my clothes fit on me. This could be important. Mind you, I'm a plus size woman and I have natural hair. That's important as well. So sometimes to have a contained appearance, I would wear work appropriate scarves, I'm assuming headscarves. But by the time this meeting happened, I had my hair in nearly contained twists for at least a certain amount of time. Our entire team consists of, she gave the demographics, which my supervisor is also a part of, and she has natural hair and wears scarves as often as me, sometimes larger and flashier than me. So what is redacted, the demographics are speaking of is African Americans. So, and when they're speaking of natural hair, natural African American hair is what she's referring to here. As for the statement about my clothes, as said in the recording of the meeting, she proceeded to state that next time I look like that, she will take a picture and show me how I look. Now that's interesting. I wonder if that could be construed as potential harassment, taking a picture. All this is going to be, that's important. After her comments, the rest of the meeting had a terrible atmosphere as my coworkers were rightfully in shock and embarrassed for me. Okay. I immediately reported to our company's ethics line what happened and how I felt unsafe and demeaned in such an unprofessional way. That's good. So she reported right away. I went through the proper channels we were instructed to take when we receive harassment in the workplace. but there was a slow pace of my process. Yet every day I had to interact with the same, supervisor, but it's the same supervisor to stay professional and maintain my job performance. It was a very stressful environment among my entire team, and my anxiety increased every day that I had to return to that building. My nights became sleepless, and my home life started to deteriorate as well. I have included the recording in this email with a timestamp along with the harassment policy for the company, but I do not feel comfortable talking about this live as I don't want to be. Yes, I've reviewed the audio. What does she say here? Also, okay. I also felt it would cost more to go to court with legal expenses than to be compensated for the distress. Okay, I would demand, or the distress I would demand, since I chose to leave my job. I'm sorry I can't pay you for your advice, but I want to know if you think this is something I should pursue or let go since so much time has passed. My recording and a follow-up recording from the next month's team meeting were sent. Okay, nothing was done. So again, thank you, Angelique, for bringing this to me. Now, I can't give you advice, but I, will educate and we'll talk about this and use this as a tool to kind of teach everybody. So basically, she's claiming workplace harassment. Now, the public humiliation part, that's the part where the supervisor seems to be going beyond the line or beyond the scope. It's one thing to tell an employee that, maybe their appearance is not what is expected or doesn't live up to company standards. That's one thing. But the manner in which it's done is something else. Doing it publicly is one thing, but then in front of everybody and humiliating a person, that in and of itself doesn't necessarily constitute workplace harassment. However, if there's public humiliation coupled with something that is protected, like if it's a characteristic that's related to race, ethnicity, or gender, that could be, but then also, and if there's a pattern of behavior, that could rise to a hostile work environment or workplace harassment. So that's what I was saying sticks out to me, the part about natural hair and the headscarves, because if that's what the supervisor was referring to specifically, well, this kind of ties into race and being African-American, where, Angelique says that she has natural hair and she was in the process of getting twists. And so she was wearing headscarves. I don't know. She forgot the headscarf that day. I'm not sure what she said, but either way, if the supervisor's comment was relating to her hair, now we've got something else, because it almost sounds like, and I'm on a hypothetical here because I don't know specifically what she said. I don't know if it was about the clothes. I don't know if it was about the hair or whatever, but in the hypothetical I'm laying out, that this was about her hair, her natural hair, I could see that being tied to race. And then the part where she threatens to take a photo and display it, we're getting somewhere. And if she keeps doing this and shows a pattern of this, that could absolutely be harassment. It could be. So I say all that to say, I think somebody in this situation would have to weigh their options, because it depends on how traumatic this was for, the individual. Again, this is hypothetical. Going to court. Now, is there an amount of money in this person's mind that would be worth it? Because they would have to relive this trauma in court for however long that took, and not be guaranteed to win. But then it comes down to, is it about money? Is it about the principle? Like, it would depend on what the individual was trying to gain from this specifically. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I guess we can go on to the next one, unless I'm missing anything else. Steve, do you have anything else in here?
No, I think we're good with. I think the big key is the interpersonal part, that you have to decide if there's an amount of money that's worth reliving this throughout a legal discussion. Right. Also, I'm seeing some questions. I'm going to make a ticker, but I'll ask now. First off, hello from Romania.
Hey, all the way in Romania. Hello.
And MYC Killa N95681 wants to know, how do we submit a question? You submit a question to otungalawyer@gmail.com. Please include the state. Please try your best to not include incriminating stuff. That said, we will redact it if we use it.
Right.
And I will create a banner so everyone knows that. But I can bring you on to the next one.
Please, let's do that. Also, let me say this. People, please don't snitch on yourselves. Please think about what you're doing before you send me these questions. I will try to protect you, but yeah, no self-snitching.
So this next one is about the legality of fantasy football. Are you in a fantasy football league?
I am not. But I have been before. Okay, this is going to be a good one.
Are you in a fantasy basketball league?
I'm not presently, but that would be more likely.
Yeah.
That would be more likely. Okay. The legality of a fantasy football league. Hello, Mr. Otunga. I was hoping you could help my friend out with a situation she has been in for a while. A couple months ago, she entered a fantasy league game on Facebook. Okay, so it's on Facebook. She, as well as everyone who played, had to pay $20 entry fee in order to play. My friend ended up winning the game and was supposed to get a $200 cash prize. After a week, she didn't get her money and contacted one of the hosts of the game about it. The co-host she had talked to had stopped talking to the other co-host. So she told my friend she would figure something out since she was getting paid later in the week. More time passes, and my friend still hasn't been given her money. So she messages again, wondering what's going on. She and the co-host started arguing, and it ended with her demanding my friend stop disrespecting her, or she will be blocked and get none of her money. Then she makes a sarcastic comment about how my friend could take her to small claims court, but it would cost more than what she is trying to get. My friend hasn't done anything yet, as she feels it would be a tough process, and she is dealing with some personal I can't say about it, but I guess she's dealing with some personal issues at the moment. What do you suggest for this situation? Okay, so let's see if I get this right. So, and we're going to make a hypothetical out of this because, again, I'm not giving advice on this, but we're going to use this to educate and discuss. So you have a fantasy football pool amongst friends. Say there's 4 friends, whatever it is, but everybody pays $20 to get into this, and then the winner's going to get $200. The fact that this is like a private bet amongst friends, and so it actually is an agreement and somewhat of a verbal contract here, believe it or not, even though this is just a bet amongst friends. So this isn't technically like gambling. This is a private bet, and courts would actually look to enforce this because you can see that there was an offer. They set this up there, and there was acceptance of this. People paid $20. The consideration was the money, which I've said before is necessary in every contract. It's what you're giving up and what you could gain. That's the money. And so then, there was the outcome, the resolution. This individual won, but was not paid. So could this matter be taken to court, small claims court? It absolutely could. It absolutely could. And I think that a judge would likely rule on this, that the money should be paid. Given that you could provide, text messages, screenshots, if you're able to provide that showing, the money put in, I think that it would probably be, it could likely be in the plaintiff's favor. Now, that being said, doesn't mean that you could compel the person to pay. But is it worth it over the amount of money? For $200, you're going to spend way more than that, even just going to small claims court. But I think if you start adding zeros onto the values, then that might change your mind. So I think it just comes down to how much money is at stake and is it worth it? But if you ask me, if I was in a situation like this, I'm thinking about it like with my friends in fantasy football. If one of my friends did that, it wasn't going to pay the money, just was, being a jerk about it or whatever. How much did I lose? $20. Well, for $20, I've now gotten rid of that person from my life because that's going to be it. I'm not going to deal with them again. Not going to enter any more fantasy football pools with that person. Yeah. Anything else we have there, Steve?
One other thing on this that I think might be considered a misconception because it varies by state, and this poster didn't give us their state. But is fantasy football considered gambling?
I don't believe it is actually. Fantasy football is it's generally legal. Like it's a bet amongst friends. So it's not considered gambling because there's no casino, there's no house, there's nobody taking a take, from it. So it's just seen as a bet amongst friends, which courts will legally recognize.
And specifically a game of skill.
Oh, and that, oh, I'm sorry. That too. And fantasy football has traditionally been seen as a game of skill. So it's not technically just like gambling at a casino where you're taking your chances or odds. But fantasy football does indeed require some skill to win. Like you got to know what players are going to do what, and the more accurate you are, the better you'll do. So technically, it is a game of skill, and that's how courts have seen it.
And brief gripe of mine: somehow courts don't see poker as a game of skill.
Which, yeah, I could also argue that about blackjack too. A little bit.
Well, if you're good at the game of skill that is blackjack, the house stops you from playing.
Yeah.
They just eject you because they're a private business. Speaking of businesses, this next email is about the legality of an LLC.
And this is a great question. All right. Good evening. I'm starting a company for the first time, and I'm wondering if you may have tips for starting and maintaining the legality of an LLC. I have submitted the initial form, and I'm wanting to obtain any advice to have a seamless transition with any additional forms processes. Thank you for any help. All right. Well, we'll just talk generally. What is an LLC? That's a limited liability corporation. So basically, this is forming a legal entity, which is it's a business or company, but it's an entity. So it's similar to a person. That's how it's viewed. So the point of this and the benefit would be to limit your liability as an individual. Because let's say, you start this business and you could be sued. You open yourself up to liability and your personal assets could be taken. Like if you were sued and you lost, they could take your home, your car, your money. So it would behoove you, or it would behoove somebody in certain situations to have a company. And so if anything went wrong, the company would be sued, not the individual. So the individual's assets would be separate. Their home, personal assets, car, none of that could be touched. Only the company would have to pay for being sued. So just in that respect, it would be smart to use an LLC just to insulate yourself from liability. Then you have tax purposes too, because now with an entity, the LLC will be taxed as a corporation. So, and it's only going to be taxed once, no double tax. It just passes through one time. But now you can also write off different things being a corporation. For example, office space, business expenses, anything related to the business, legitimate travel related to the business. So it's a way of saving money also. But yeah, LLCs are a great thing. And depending on the size and the number of people, you could do a limited liability corporation, or if it's one person even or smaller, you could just go, if it's small, you could do an S corp, which is very similar, basically the same thing. But just like usually for like sole proprietors and whatnot. But yes, a corporation it's a good thing to consider, especially if you're starting a business. Definitely. So hopefully that sheds some light and helps there.
Also, this isn't tax advice, but it's my understanding that if you needed to file an LLC not for the liability but for the tax reasons, so to be able to claim deductions on self-employment, you should be able to just file multiple Schedule Cs for each quote-unquote business that you're doing, and you don't need the LLC to do that. Because I've heard a lot of people who start an LLC because they think, oh, for my taxes next year, I need to be able to deduct business expenses where that's tax-wise that's separate from liability, like personal liability. Those are two separate things. This is my only addition there.
Yeah, yeah. No, they absolutely are. Tax wise, yeah, you get the tax breaks there and the deductions, which can be huge, and then also personal liability. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things too, is being able to insulate yourself, keep yourself, your personal finances safe, and separate from the business entity. So both of those things very, very important.
So this next one we talked about a lot. I think it's very fun. It gets into some places we didn't think it would initially, and it is an app required to have dark mode under the ADA?
Yeah, this is a very, very good one. All right. So shout out to Joel from Minnesota. Now, I'll start this email with honesty that I would not be able to afford a lawyer, but I was just curious if there is anything to this, as my law knowledge is limited and unsure if I should even use app names and involve this issue. I'm aware of a case where the handicapped took retailers to court over the stores not being handicap accessible, and that is similar to my ask. Okay. My reason for emailing is this. I have light sensitivity in my eyes that gives me migraines from lighting or white screens from devices where there isn't a dark theme or dark mode available. I haven't seen a doctor specifically for this issue. I've been dealing with a shopping app, so it's Temu, that that does not have a dark theme. And I've asked the customer service about this issue on November 28th and still have that conversation with the response of the dark theme function isn't available for this app. This app search engine is difficult, and using games like Farmland inside the app becomes a daily investment also. Not familiar with that game. In conclusion, I use migraine medication and worn sunglasses and put ice packs around my eyes as prevention methods to explain that also. If anything, thank you for your time, and I apologize if I have poor grammar. Let me know if there are any details you may still need if I wasn't specific enough. Wow, no, the grammar was great, but wow. So Joel apparently is using the Temu app, and the lights are so bright, and he's got photosensitivity, undiagnosed yet, but apparently, and it's causing migraines, and to the point where he's having to put ice packs on his eyes. Wow, that's team was really tearing him up. Sounds like. So let's look at this. So Joel is basically saying that there's an accessibility issue here, and that he believes there should be a dark mode. And if I'm understanding it, he's questioning whether or not to sue, or he could sue for there not being a dark mode on Temu. So that's the hypothetical I'm going to take and play around with. Is let's take Temu, which I was familiar with, but I wasn't familiar with their app prior to this. But I've since learned, if you haven't been on the Temu app, it is visually stimulating, to say the least. That might be an understatement. As soon as you open the app, you're going to be hit with a spinning wheel, and where you get to play a game, and there's no presumable X to get away from it, so you kind of have to play along with it. And guess what? Spoiler, you're going to win $300. And then, wow, that feels pretty good. And then, like on the next page, before you can even do anything to search for anything, they're going to double it to like $600. So now all of a sudden you have $600 of credit. And then they start showing you all these things. I was on the app for a good 3-5 minutes. I intended to go on there, look for something specifically, but I couldn't even check this out because of these different pop-ups. So I understand that. And it was very bright and a lot going on. I was able to dim my screen, and it didn't really affect me. But then again, I'm not that photosensitive. My eyes aren't that photosensitive. Lights, I was able to handle this. However, this is interesting because for somebody who like Joel, who has a sensitivity to light, he can't really use the app, is what he's saying. It's causing him pain and distress. If there were a dark mode, presumably he could watch it. But can he compel, or can a court compel Temu to have a dark mode? I'm going to say probably not. Now, and here's why. In the United States, you have the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. And, under that, companies are forced to make things accessible to everybody, or to provide accessibility options. Now, Temu is not owned by a company in the United States. So the ADA doesn't really apply there. So right off, Temu, they don't have any obligation for accessibility. Now, as a business, they could comply with this. They probably should. It probably help their business, but they are not compelled to do so. And you can't compel them to have a dark mode. If there's another way to make these accommodations, they could do that. Or making it more accessible if they were to lower their brightness, maybe, or find another way around that. But it doesn't have to be a dark mode. Like you can't dictate how they must go about lowering or making it accessible. So, and the fact that they're a foreign company makes it really, really difficult to enforce that. Also, wait, where are we here? Meta YouTube had a trial over harm to children. Yes, this is interesting because, as I understand this is a case where TikTok is being sued for almost being too addictive. Let's see. Social media apps have long been accused of being harmful to children. Now those claims will come before a jury for the first time in a trial kicking off Tuesday in a Los Angeles courtroom. A key question will be whether tech companies deliberately built their platforms to hook young users, contributing to a youth mental health crisis. Wow. The jury's decision could have big consequences for tech industry and how children use social media. Meta, the owner of Instagram and Facebook and Google's YouTube, will stand trial in California state court after TikTok settled the lawsuit on the eve of the trial. Terms of the settlement were confidential. What else do we have? Snapchat was also named as a defendant in the lawsuit, but reached its own undisclosed settlement with the plaintiff last week. The LA case is the first of a wave of lawsuits headed for trial this year that have been brought against social media companies by more than 1,000 individual plaintiffs. Thank you. Where the suits accuse Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Snapchat of engineering features that make their apps nearly impossible for kids to put down, like infinite scroll, autoplay videos, frequent notifications, and recommendation algorithms, leading in some cases to depression, eating disorders, self-harm, and even suicide. Wow. So Snapchat and TikTok remain defendants in other lawsuits. The plaintiffs are seeking monetary damages as well as changes to the way social media apps are designed. The trial, starting on Tuesday in LA, will give a rare look inside how the most popular and powerful social media platforms operate. Jurors will be presented with thousands of pages of internal documents, including research on children conducted by the companies, expert witnesses, and the testimony of the teenage plaintiff, identified as KGM, who says her excessive use of social media led to mental health problems. Wow. Now let's see what Zuckerberg said. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, are also set to take the stand in the trial, which is expected to last several weeks. The public is going to know for the first time what social media companies have done to prioritize their profits over safety of our kids, said Bergman, who represents KGM and other plaintiffs. The tech companies argue that there's no clinical diagnosis of addiction to social media and that no direct link between using social media and mental health problems has been proved. They say they've rolled out safety features for kids in recent years, including parental controls, guardrails on who can collect teen accounts, and time limits. They also cite First Amendment, saying that just as people's speech is protected from government censorship, the decisions that social media companies make about the content are also a type of protected speech, an argument the Supreme Court has affirmed. Hold on, let me think about that here. So they're saying that just as people's speech is protected from government censorship, the decisions that social media companies make about their content is a type of protected speech. Okay, I can see that. Okay, I can definitely see that, because they're basically saying that everybody has a right to free speech in their own content. So they're not going to limit that. I agree with that. Supreme Court has affirmed that. All right. Both Meta and YouTube parent Google said in statements that the allegations in the lawsuits are baseless. The lawsuits misportray our company and the work we do every day to provide young people with safe, valuable experiences online. Meta said in a statement, despite the snippets of conversations or cherry-picked quotes that plaintiffs' counsel may use or paint an intentionally misleading picture of the company, we're proud of the progress we've made. We stand by our record of putting teen safety first and will keep making improvements. We stand by their record of putting teen safety first. So are they saying that teen safety is more important than making money in this business? I don't know if I believe that statement, but this is such an interesting question. So basically, social media companies are being sued for making their apps too engaging, too or possibly addictive. But isn't that just good business? Doesn't that mean that they're achieving what they want? Isn't that what they want? Don't they want people to be addicted to this? So where do you draw the line? And how do you prove that this is contributing to mental health problems among the youth? Because also, I'm not saying that it's not, but that's the interesting part of this is how would somebody go about litigating this to prove that? Yeah, and the fact that it's targeted against or children, like if they're able to prove that as well, they probably really have some. Well, clearly they do. They do, and people are taking this serious because if you've been on TikTok, especially, it's hard to get off it. You know, once you're on that thing, something else will pop up, and the algorithms are so good they know what you like. But the thing of it is, the more time you spend on TikTok, the better the algorithm learns you and then makes it harder for you to get off because it'll just show you more of what you like. But is that good business practice, or are companies taking this too far? Are social media companies taking this too far? I'll make a distinction, to bring it back to Temu. I see where he's going with this. If he was trying to make a similar argument, although Temu is a shopping app. So this would be like Amazon trying to sue Amazon and saying that they made things too addictive, shopping. But let's not forget what's hard to separate here. Shopping contains its own dopamine spikes in and of itself. Like buying things feel good. Have you ever heard of retail therapy? Like that's what people say. Like when you go shopping, go have some retail therapy. Yeah, you go spend some money, you buy some things, and it does feel good, raises your dopamine. But then sometimes you raise it too high, and then later you get home and it spikes. You have buyer's remorse. But that's what that's about. But anyway, that's a difference here in that TikTok is, social media and people, with whatever content trying to be engaged with, they're trying to sell you specific goods. Individuals are. So you're there to purchase something. It's an e-commerce website. A little bit different.
So Jesse Ortiz has a good question, which is if Temu were an American app, would they be held liable? So effectively, if Amazon were if the Amazon app were effectively a slot machine that messed with your dopamine and also refused to have dark mode.
Well, you can't compel a company to have dark mode. Like they at best they could be made to make their product or their app accessible to everyone. But you can't dictate how that is. So you can't say it would be dark. Maybe it is dark mode. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's reducing, the light or on the app or presenting it in a different way, offering alternatives. So would they be held liable? It's honestly, it's still going to be tough to say. And I don't know if you can say that they'd be held liable to be too addictive. I'm not certain that you could prove that. Even if it was in the United States.
I think that's why I brought up the case that's happening in the city we live right now.
Yeah,
Perhaps we should try to get some media badges because I think what happens in that case will signify the liability an app does and doesn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the way that these are decided, because TikTok has already had these cases, but they've settled privately. So there's not really a precedent here. But it'll be interesting to see what happens after this because, things could change. There could be new legislation. Who knows?
So we've got three just real good paid questions, starting with Dorian Q7H. What rights do I have as a father to keep my children away from my ex's new boyfriend? He's been abusing my daughter, and I'm doing all I can the legal way to protect her.
Now, Dorian, man, first of all, I feel that's an awful situation to be in, especially with, you know, child abuse. So again, listen, I want to say I am not your lawyer. I'm not giving you advice. I do feel for you in this position. So I'll just talk about the legal elements here and try to educate you on what's going on. And hopefully you can get something from that and do with it as you please. But being a single father who went through a separation and a very, very long child custody battle, I know, and being a lawyer, I know a great deal about family law here. I would say, just as a father, not even a lawyer, as a father, like man to man, if somebody were abusing my child, I would go to the authorities immediately, report this to the police immediately, and have the police go and remove my child from the danger. If and this is my situation, if my child's mother had an ex who was abusing my child, I would go to the authorities, have them show up, as not to make an already tense situation worse, but have them deal with it. And I think that is probably the smartest thing to do. But that would be the first thing, is to stop the abuse, and then that would also presumably help for whatever legal recourse somebody was going to take after that. Because if a child is being abused in one parent's home, the child should then probably go live with the other parent for safety. So that's where I would explore things. Yeah. And Dorian, if you want to speak further about this offline, I'm happy to do that too, or to email. But hopefully, giving you enough, here that can help you kind of decide, which way you're going to go, what you're going to do with this. But my heart goes out to you, and I'm going to start covering more cases like this for fathers' rights, because obviously I have a sweet spot or a soft spot for that. So hopefully I can help or provide education any way I can. Oh, and yes, another thing too, make sure you get a police report, or anybody, not necessarily you, anybody. If somebody were in this situation, their child were being abused, I would say report it to the police and make sure to get a police report, because that's going to help going forward. And that's tough. That's a tough situation to be in. So many emotions in that. And before I get to my Matthias here, that's a situation that can be really, really difficult, especially like for a father, when there's somebody else, like putting hands on your child, and like emotions can run high. Have to remember, got to do things the right way. Let the authorities have it. Don't want to make things worse. Yeah, that's a tough situation. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go to Matthias. How long does it take to become a lawyer on average? And do you ever find moral dilemmas in the field, or is that a stereotype associated with it, needing to defend unsavory people? Oh, Matthias, these are great questions. Glad to have you. On average, it takes 7 years to become a lawyer, or technically 8 if you want to count passing the bar, depending. But anyway, it's 4 years of undergraduate and then 3 years of law school to earn your.
Hey everybody, this is Steve, the voice here. I think we lost David. Sometimes his browser crashes. I think it's the RAM or something like that. He usually just has to do a quick reset and then he'll be back. I'm just going to add a little technical difficulties so that I don't have to keep reminding it. He's still in the studio, which is not normally what happens. Okay, he's left the studio. So I haven't been showing myself on screen just because I have a messy, but I think I have to show on screen anyway. Just those are all boxes for Christmas decorations because the Christmas decorations are still out. Don't judge me, I'm busy. Thank you very much, Matthias. We're going to get him back. Also, I think the stat, and David can correct me when he gets back. I believe the stat on becoming a lawyer just on not just amount of time, like if you're exceptional like David and you could just take the LSAT on a whim, like most people probably won't pass the LSAT on a whim. But if you start law school, I believe the stat is from year 1 to the end is something like 1 in 3 actually make it to the end of law school. And then I believe it's similar or close to half the amount of people who take the bar that pass the bar, depending on the state. So it's not just how long would it be if I started tomorrow? It would be, how long would it be if I started tomorrow and I did all of the work and survived? So I would tack on extra years that don't really account for David's experience. That, if I were trying to become a lawyer starting tomorrow, I would assume it would take me 10 years. Although if I were trying to become a lawyer starting tomorrow, I would pull a Kim Kardashian and buy my way into a law firm and then clerk for that law firm. And then I'll never have to take the bar. And as far as I'm aware, I think I still have to have a law degree to do that, but then you can work backward. So he's on his way back in. His computer crashed. Thank you very much, Angelique. We should have a catchy tune for the "We'll Be Right Back." Just do. Joe R 860. He stopped time. A wrestling historian. Great to see you. Thank you for coming. David is in the studio. There he is.
I'm back.
Are we? That's what it is. That's fine.
Okay.
I was ready. So we'll get back to Matthias's question.
Yes, please.
Something I was trying to bring up is how long it would take you when you say 8 years, including the bar. That assumes you survive, or you don't get held, or you don't get held back, or you don't. That assumes you do all the work perfectly, which not everyone can do. And I'll tell you can take it from there.
Thank you very much for covering, Steve. Technical difficulties. Apologize. It's the first run. We got it. We're back. Matthias. So, yeah, the quickest way you could do it, you go through high school, then you go through 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, and then you could take the bar right after that. So that would be the quickest in just over 7 years. However, that doesn't always happen. Even for myself, I did 4 years of college, then I had a year off. I worked at Columbia University. I managed a cognitive neuroscience lab. And then the next year started at Harvard Law School. And then, practiced law, top law firm in Chicago, and then became a professional wrestler. And then now still back practicing law. So the thing of it is, it depends, because law school is something, it can be tough, but it can also be really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it, but there's plenty of people who, it's a difficult process, and it might take them a little bit longer to get through. So I would say the average time, I don't know, 8, 9 years, something like that. Definitely, should be like under 10. Some people take longer, but I would say on average, that's what it is. But I love this question here. Do you ever find moral dilemmas in the field? Or like, so needing to defend unsavory people? Yeah, that can come up, but it depends on your mindset. So like for me, I always consider myself a criminal defense attorney because for whatever reason, I usually just side with the defendant because in a lot of the cases that I had, when I started out, for example, I started out first defending clients when I was a 3L at Harvard Law School in Boston. And I got to work at the public defender's office in Roxbury, Massachusetts. Like I had my own caseload. They let me be a public defender in Boston, in Roxbury as a 3L. So before I even graduated law school. And I used to do a lot of juvenile clients. And I remember one that I had in particular. I'll give him a shout out, Jay. He knows who he is. I will give his last name. But anyway, he was a good kid. He fell in kind of with a bad crowd, just trying to fit in and got caught up in some things and charged with something that was going to go on his record, permanently as a juvenile, where they were, thinking about trying to charge him as an adult. And so the thing of it is, I needed to step in. He couldn't afford a lawyer. And so he was appointed a public defender, or he could have this third-year law student from Harvard Law School. They went with me. And my whole point was, did the kid do something wrong? Yeah, he was with some kids. And, technically, was he guilty? It depends. Was he guilty of the charge they said? I don't think so. Was he guilty of something? Yes. So it was a matter of, did I agree with what he did? No. But at the same time, I understand how, especially a kid at that age could be pressured into something. And, he was young. So anyway, I didn't want this young man to have his life ruined and get something major on his record when really it wasn't that serious. So I kind of always look at it as, if I have to defend somebody that I don't agree with what they do, I want to make sure that it's the appropriate charge, because a lot of times people are overcharged due to race. And actually, that's what was happening in this particular situation with this young juvenile I was speaking about. He was African American, and it seemed like it may have played in a little bit. I don't know if it did or it didn't. But either way, I wanted to make sure that they didn't ruin this kid's life when they didn't have to. But sometimes you have to defend unsavory people, but you can always turn a case down. That's the thing. If I didn't feel like I could totally do my job and be objective, like if I felt like my personal opinions were going to cloud, my work and prevent me from advocating for my client zealously, I would pass on it and say, I'm sorry, I'm not the right attorney for this. However, like I said, I don't mind it if I see an angle there or some way I can help and just make sure, that the legal process works like it's supposed to. Because again, like being a criminal defense attorney, I'm not trying to get my client off, of the hook or whatever it is. Technically, as a criminal defense attorney, I'm trying to make the prosecutors prove their case. You say my client did this, prove it. Now, you say my client did X, prove it. My client probably did W. He didn't do X. So I'm going to defend him and tell you he did not do X. And good luck trying to beat me with that. I know my client didn't do X. My client did W. If you know what I mean. Okay.
And also prove it under the rules.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And prove it under the rules, because I'm really good with that in the federal rules of evidence. So better do your homework before you go up against me.
And that's a video on our legal board specifically about why it's important guilty people get a good defense.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that then. I'll touch on that briefly, but it is extremely important that guilty people get a good defense, because otherwise, this is where the term like railroaded comes in. Like somebody could do something that's minor, but get everything thrown at them, get the maximums. Why is that? Because a lot of things are in the discretion of the court or the judge or the jury in terms of sentencing guidelines. And it depends on what an individual is charged with. That's the thing, is like, you have to make sure that's really what it comes down to. And it being a good prosecutor is you have to make the right charges, only charge what you can prove. And that's where a good defense attorney comes in, where I'm looking at this, I'm waiting. Okay, you charge this, you charge X. X has 5 different elements. they better all be in there. If you got 3 of them, 4 of them, I'm getting them out of this. All right, what else do we have?
Well, we have not a question from Zachary Moore, just $20. So thank you.
Whoa,
You're the best, Zachary Moore.
Whoa, no, yeah, Zachary Moore, you're the best. Thank you for that. I appreciate this. I really do. You know what?
So
there's nothing like people enjoying your work, and I didn't ask for it. Hey, thank you very much, though. Thank you.
2 more super chats. This first one, you and I've talked about offline. Did O.J. Simpson do it? Acquitted? Why? Your opinion. We're going to try our best to do the condensed version, I guess.
I guess I could use this as a teaser for that, but I'll just tell you this. I have a theory on O.J. Simpson that is the O.J. Simpson case that is not what you think. I was in talks and had a documentary coming out about this, and I was going to interview my former professor who was part of O.J. Simpson's defense team, Alan Dershowitz. But the production company and I had different views, and I was working with somebody else and decided I'm just going to make it on my own. However, everybody who has heard the theory came in thinking one thing and have unanimously told me, you know what? I didn't know where you're going with this. I wasn't sure anybody could change my mind, but you've actually made me consider this, which I think is great because everybody thinks they know exactly what happened. But I'll just say the broad strokes. So I was 14 when this case happened, and I was in intro to law in high school at Larkin High School, Elgin, Illinois. My teacher was Mr. Rodriguez. Shout out to him. He was awesome. But that was my first time in any kind of legal class. I was fascinated by this case. And I remember being 14 years old, O.J. Simpson was seen as, he's the biggest baby face. And then immediately when this happened, everybody just assumed he did it. Oh, he did it. It was a rush to judgment. I mean, he did look pretty guilty. However, can you prove that? Try to charge him with first-degree murder. Okay. Can you prove it, though? They had the evidence to prove it. However, some of the evidence was tainted. There's undeniable proof of that. So, well, first of all, we'll just say this. This is why he was acquitted, is there was tainted evidence. This is aside from my theory or my insight in this. But if you want to know why OJ was acquitted, it was tainted evidence, and it was Mark Fuhrman. I mean, it really was. And he was part of potentially planting evidence. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. My theory revolves around the DNA evidence, because this was one of the first cases, definitely the biggest case, where DNA was used, and people, they didn't really know about it that much. This was a new thing. And so it was a big deal. Barry Scheck was great at explaining this on OJ's defense team, but they had to explain to the jurors and, to everybody in the country, into the world watches, basically, how DNA worked and what was going on. And so the police work was terrible at the crime scene. And so on the night of the murder, when police showed up, that morning, they didn't secure the crime scene well. Not all. They left the body out there uncovered. People were walking through the crime scene. They collected all the evidence. They didn't collect O.J. Simpson's blood at the scene there that night. Apparently not. So on that day, listen to what I'm telling you, because they allegedly recovered O.J. Simpson's DNA at the scene of the crime, but they did not recover it the night of the crime. Do you know when they recovered it? 3 weeks later. So let me take you through this. The night of the crime, the CSI team comes in there. They do the crime scene. They collect all the evidence. Apparently, they don't have any of OJ's blood, at least in the back, because then what I'm getting to is he flies to Chicago right after this. I mean, that was smart. Gets on a plane. I mean, he's cutting it close, but he made it out there. But then they say, "Hey, wait a minute, you got to come back." Allegedly, he's got this cut on his finger. What? I don't know. He says he broke it on a glass. Who knows? But either way, he comes back and he submits for a DNA test. This is what's important, because a day or two after the murders, OJ gets his blood drawn. So they could to do it, the DNA test. They come in though. Well, they drew his blood and put it in a vial. And like if you go to the doctor, they draw your blood, the phlebotomist takes it, and it's in a vial, and it's got this stuff at the bottom, and it's a preservative, right? EDTA, and it looks like some kind of like gum or something, but it's to preserve the blood so they can use it later. So for some reason, the crime scene unit decides to go back to the O.J. Simpson or to the Nicole Brown Simpson house and just collect more evidence. 3 weeks later, right? And guess what? This time, when they do that, they found major piece of evidence. They found OJ's blood on the back gate going to the back. He's cooked. His DNA right there at the crime scene. But most people don't. They just heard that they found that. But in court, wait a minute now. How come it took 3 weeks to find it? How come they didn't find it at the beginning? Was this planted? And then people are going to say, oh, well, they probably just missed it. No, that wasn't planted. Why would you say that? They missed it. They just happened to collect it later. Do you know what was found in that blood? That blood on the back gate? Do you know what was found in that blood? In OJ's blood? His DNA, but EDTA. I think that's what you meant. It's the EDTA, the preservative I was talking about. That was found in the blood on the back gate. EDTA is not made by the human body. That's a preservative. So what does that tell you? The blood on the back gate was taken out of the vial. Also, I forget what the exact measurements were. Let's say they took 1 ml of OJ's blood in this vial, right? When it left the crime scene. Well, when it was logged into evidence, I think there was only like 0.6 ml left. There was blood missing, an amount missing. Also, the chain of custody was wonky, and Detective Van Hatter personally took the vial and put it in his shirt pocket and went to the OJ's residence and went a number of places before actually logging this in. I don't know if you know about chain of custody, but that is not how you do it. That is not professional at all. And so, Detective Van Hatter had access to OJ's blood in his pocket with a vial with EDTA. Nothing was collected that night, but then later, OJ's blood with EDTA was found, and the vial was missing blood. Come on, this is too simple. But anyway, that's why he was acquitted, because it was very clear that was planned. Also, the socks. If you haven't heard about the socks, same thing here. There was a video crew that was in OJ's house, and they were recording everything in his house to see what it looked like. Everything was immaculate. Then I believe it was Detective Mark Furman shows up and decides to go in OJ's house, and for whatever reason he went upstairs by himself, and then also he started calling him, hey, you gotta come up here, take a look. There's a pair of socks just laying there right in the middle of the floor. Just, they weren't there before. You could see in the video clearly, but now there's this pair of brown socks that OJ allegedly, just the whole place is immaculate, but he allegedly just strewn about a pair of socks. Yeah. But the trick was when they picked the socks up, they contained blood, OJ's blood. And wait a minute. How do you get blood on there? The thing of it is with this, it was a sock, right? So the blood was on both sides of the sock. But how could that happen? If the blood splashed on OJ during this, his foot would have been in the middle. So how could blood have gone, hit the sock here, if this is his foot, hit this, or splash on this side of the sock and gone through to the other? It couldn't. But I'll tell you how that could happen. If you laid the sock on the floor and took a dropper of blood and dropped it, and so the droplet hit one side of the sock and soaked all the way through. Pretty much explains that. All right, I've said too much on this. You guys gotta be excited.
That's going to be a very long, full-length video. If anybody listening happens to be both a video editor and a paralegal, that's probably who I would need to help me make that video. Yeah, reach out. Or help us with a lot. If you're that person and you want to work with us, the otungalawyer@gmail.com. Zachary Moore, EN5TU, $50.
What?
He is NXT for life, no question. Zachary Moore, if you have a question, regular chat for the question. Also, not Nexus for life, NXT for life.
NXT. Oh, well, hey, Nexus, NXT, we're the Godfathers.
You know.
NXT. You know I built it.
So
Zachary Moore clearly knows that.
we now have 4 super chats and then one more emailed legal case. So we're going to move a little quick. AUBBMMA sued my apartment and won 2 months of rent abatement. Defense was they were actively pursuing eviction of the tenant. After I won, they dropped the case. Reason is noise every night in Virginia. And then they won advice. Trying to parse out all the details here.
Yeah, sued my apartment and won 2 months of rent abatement, 50% defense. The defense was they were actively pursuing eviction of the tenant. Okay, but after I won, they dropped the case. Reason is noise every night in Virginia. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where you want me to go with this, because you sued. Apparently, this individual sued and won, so that's great. The defense was that they were actively pursuing the tenant after I won. They dropped the case. I'm sorry. Your question's not clear to me. I'm trying to figure it out. But the reason is noise every night. So they were pursuing eviction due to high noise levels. I mean, that could be if it was excessive. I would have to know. I don't know if there's police reports. What's involved? I'm sorry. It's kind of vague, but I appreciate you sending this in. Yeah, congratulations on winning your case. I think that's dope. So thank you.
And in general, let us know if the more information we kind of need as to noise, and also noise every night from you or a neighbor,
right? And
then eviction of you or the tenant that's causing the noise. I think those are the 2 things we're trying to suss out. We've got Demon Built Diff. Hey, David, I have a personal question regarding a criminal defense on something. Is there any way I can speak to you regarding it?
Yeah, send an email to the account. What's the account, Steve?
otungalawyer@gmail.com.
Yep. Send an email there, and we'll figure out a way to get in touch. But thank you for coming on and reaching out.
So these next 2 are wrestling related, but also legal related. I'll start with one of our associates, Instagram at a wrestling historian. Thoughts on the trial of Ted DiBiase Jr.?
Shout out to a wrestling historian. I know his accounts well. Tags me all the time. Great photos. Hey, a wrestling historian, hook me up. Give me some good posts lately for me to repost. Especially because, boy, you're covered with the heat right now. Thoughts of the Ted DiBiase Jr. trial? Well, I'm gonna have to catch up on the latest. Because last I heard he was getting ready to go to trial. I don't know if it started yet or not. I worked with Ted DiBiase Jr. and his brother Brett. They were both cool. They're nice guys. I don't really know what they're into outside of wrestling, or I don't know them at all outside of wrestling. But as far as coworkers and stuff, they're super nice, super just chill, cool guys. Their dad too, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, cool guys. But here we got the key points. Let's get into this. So, former wrestler Ted DiBiase Jr.'s federal trial for welfare fraud has been continued until February. Okay, so it's continued until February. Thank you, Steve. It's a little tiny. So the trial was halted after the lead defense attorney fell ill. Okay, but a judge denied a request for a mistrial. Wait, fell ill. Okay. DiBiase is accused of misappropriating millions in federal funds intended for needy families in Mississippi. That accusation, not a good one. He has pleaded not guilty to 13 criminal counts, including wire fraud and money laundering. A judge continued. Yeah. So basically, he's being charged with misappropriating funds and took millions of dollars and allegedly bought a home. I don't know if they said he bought a boat, but bought a lot of things for himself. But these are supposed to be for needy families in Mississippi. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, so on January 14th, U.S. District Court Judge Carlton Reeves halted proceedings due to the lead defense attorney in this case falling ill. Hopefully he's all right. The defense attorney. So the defense team requested a mistrial, citing uncertainty over whether lead attorney. Oh, hey, look, I'm here to have fun. If I didn't say this before, This show is about entertainment and education, right? And I'm going to have fun. So they requested a mistrial because the attorney was ill. See, that stuck out to me when I first read this. The attorney was ill. And then I started thinking, at first I was thinking, oh, if it would be the prosecutor, that's interesting. Like if this were a movie, somebody could have slipped him something trying to give him food poisoning, like Michael Jordan's flu game. But the defense attorney, I wonder if that, I mean, no, I don't want to wonder. But in a hypothetical, or like, yo, this could be a good movie. In a movie, like maybe that's a tactic where the lawyer faked that he was ill and hey, there must be a mistrial. We need a mistrial. There's no way we can find another lawyer. The lawyer's sick. We don't know when he's coming back. Yeah, he's stomach's upset. He's got explosive diarrhea or something. We can't trust him to come back to court. So there has to be a mistrial. Like he has to be close to the restroom. I don't think that's going to work. Yes, of course. And the judge ruled that a mistrial was unnecessary. Not surprising. The federal government supported the court's position. The trial could proceed, asserting DiBiase has capable co-counsel to represent him effectively in Gilbert's absence. So it's continued until February 23rd, 9 a.m. What else? And we talked about that. An interesting part of this is I remember what I heard before is that so Ted Jr.'s brother, Brett, was allegedly accused of something as well. I don't know how connected it was, but I'm not certain what Brett's charges were, but as I understand it, he already pleaded guilty. Let's see. Okay. But he already pleaded guilty, apparently. I wonder how that could impact Ted's trial. Because I don't know how similar the charges were, but hypothetically, or hey, in a movie, if there are two brothers, and I'm not saying this is the case here. I don't know. So again, this is in a movie. I'm taking it off the DiBiase's. In a movie, there was two brothers, and they were both charged with something, or they hatched a scheme, and both of them got caught and charged, and one of them pleaded out, took a plea deal, or pled guilty. What does that mean for the other one? Like, is it kind of forcing the hand, or kind of tipping public perception? I don't know. I don't know. It looks a little spooky for Ted, though. If you ask me, I think, sorry, not Ted, but oh, well, it is. It's Brett in this case. He's already done this. What I'm saying is, I think you don't know how this could impact Ted's case, but it could be negative. I don't think it would be positively. Yeah, let's see. So DiBiase is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, 6 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of theft. Yeah. If convicted, DiBiase faces potential prison time on each count. Yeah. But DiBiase is the only one actively contesting the charges. He's one of several people charged, but he's the only one actively contesting the charges. Does that mean the other people? Well, we know his brother pled. If presumably that Brett is one of the 7. But as far as the other 5 people, did they also plead guilty, or have their trials not started yet? I'm curious about that, because that's interesting. If 6 of the 7 pleaded guilty, and Ted is pleading. However, though, it is presumable that he is innocent. Because let's say this: in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. I do want to say that. So presumably, and as of right now, Ted DiBiase Jr. is innocent. He's presumed innocent until proven guilty. So he is innocent of these charges. And so but I'm saying it just looks it looks away. There's 7 people charged and only one of them pleads not guilty. But then again, what if he really, wasn't a part of this? Maybe the other 6 were doing this and he had no knowledge of it. I don't know. So this is all just entertaining speculation. But
also,
yes,
I would point out that in the event of criminal conspiracies, let's say, police love to round up anyone who could have been involved in an attempt to threaten them with being charged with conspiracy to get them to roll over on everybody else. So the fact that he's one of several people charged and he's the only one pleading not guilty, anecdotally, because obviously you still have to have a trial, but anecdotally that does help his case of,
Yes.
no, those people did it and they all admitted to doing it.
Right. And that's what I was saying. I'm not giving legal advice here, but if I was his attorney, I would definitely make sure I pointed out that, I mean, he's the only one with a notable name. Like he's got a very, very well-known name and is a public figure, as far as I know, in the people listed. And so that would kind of make sense, in order for them to target the person with the large name, the popular name, to put pressure on that person because they don't want the bad press, to try to get them to, rat on everybody else or whatnot. So I think a lawyer could make a good argument, though, that, in that manner. John Davis, former director of Mississippi Department of Human Services. Don't know who that is. Nancy New. Nope. Zachary New. Nope. Ann McGrew. Nope. Jacob. Sorry, Jacob. And then Brett. Yeah, he's the only other one. It would be his brother, Christy Webb. Yeah. So the DiBiase's are the only people, or the only public figures here that I'm aware of. With nationally recognized names. Put it like this: they have the most recognizable last name in this. So I definitely think that could be a point of leverage in a defense. Again, he's presumed innocent.
Yeah. Hayes Kasaki wants to know, wouldn't the other 5 have to testify against Ted to affect him? I don't know if it has to.
They wouldn't have to. No, they would not have to testify against. If they did testify against Ted, depending on what they said, I mean, that could be tough. But no, they absolutely do not have to testify against Ted.
They also don't have to testify for him.
No,
it's on the prosecution to prosecute him, just like it's on the defense to defend him.
Right. And so again, there's another case, like, or another example of this. The prosecution needs to make sure that they have the right charges against Ted. And if they've overcharged him or they've mischarged him and he has a good defense attorney, they can easily prove that this was not the right charge or that there's reasonable doubt here.
So Zachary Moore, again, thank you so much, Zachary Moore. He meant Nexus, not NXT.
And another 20?
Another 20.
My man, he is Nexus.
I'm not going to talk you out of giving money, but also you could have sent that as a regular comment. I would have put it up. But by all means,
hey man, Steve and I, we appreciate the support. Man, we just started doing this, and the feedback has been great. So it's encouraging us to do more. Please let us know how you enjoy it. And thank you very much, Zachary Moore. Thank you for that. Seriously.
And one more super chat. Also, I can't tell from the emoji whether it's an associate or a paralegal. Apologies at Wrestling Culture. What do you think about everything that came out about Velveteen Dream? Did you ever work with Patrick Clark? He was on Tough Enough, the very last season of Tough Enough. And then he would have been the Performance Center around the time you were Raw pre-show and then SmackDown announcer.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with him. Our time overlapped. I never had the occasion to work with him, though. Not in the ring, not even from a backstage capacity. I don't even believe I ever called any of his matches or anything, because he was largely in NXT. Like I've seen him, and even then, like I'm not even sure I've ever seen him work live, to be honest. Maybe, but met each other in passing backstage, just hi, hello. But what do I think about everything that came out about him? I'll be honest, you're gonna have to give me some specifics. We pull like some things up. I don't know.
I can pull some stuff up. I will say the most recent article is based on a tweet, and let's pull it up. It's from Yahoo Sports. Velveteen Dream demands an apology and a return to WWE.
Okay.
And when Wrestling Culture said everything, I did need to point out that there are, as far as I'm aware, 2 distinct cases.
Okay.
Involving Velveteen Dream prior to his release, one of which was he was accused of DMing an underage person that was never proven. Like WWE never, like, he was just off TV for a while and then eventually released, and then WWE never made a statement as to why. Yeah. So for him to now demand an apology and be brought back, anyone who's reporting that he was let go for those reasons, as far as I'm aware, that's not actually the case. But the other one was allegedly. Actually, I'm going to read the article because I'm realizing I might have inside. I might have
Like,
inside information.
Let me speak on the yeah. Because I was thinking too.
I heard versus
I know
what's in an
about it.
article.
Yeah, I know what I know about it, but I don't know about it from any articles, so I can't divulge that. But I'll talk about what I can. I will say this though. Okay, so WWE did an investigation which didn't find any evidence. However, one accuser claimed WWE never contacted them. So he was released in 2021 after the allegations against him became public. But was he released because of the allegations? That's my question. I don't know. And that's tricky. That's what would have to be proven, because the other thing is, like, okay, I'll say what I was knowing. What the inside information I had though is, I think he had heat for other reasons though too. Not saying this wasn't the reason they released him. I'm not saying that it very well may have been. However, in addition to this, I was aware he had heat for other things, just, backstage, I guess politics, or more so, I don't know that, but for whatever reason, he definitely had some heat there, which WWE could say they were releasing him for whatever they were unhappy with, in regard to that heat, when really it was because of the allegations, and you couldn't really prove either one, because WWE in the contract, as I went through on my video, the contracts, WWE can remove a talent or fire a talent, release a talent for anything or for nothing at all. So could be for these allegations. It doesn't have to be. Could be for nothing. Yeah. So multiple arrests. This slide was Clark wrote, "A lot of you owe me an apology for dragging me through the mud, knowing 5 years later, here I stand still free without a single charge. But I get it. It's very hard for people to admit when they're wrong or malicious, but hey, that's wrestling." I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I don't know if Patrick Clark is clearly so he hasn't been charged. He says without a single charge. So he's never been charged with anything. It probably is unfair to view somebody as having done something that they didn't. I mean, that's not illegal to view somebody like that, but that is unfair. I understand that. And so, at least, because again, he is innocent until proven guilty.
And he's never been, as far as I can tell, never been charged in a court of law.
Yeah.
Wrestling Culture is specifically asking, I was referring specifically to the allegation involving minors that resulted in Velveteen Dream's release. How do you feel about that situation? And the situation, as far as we understand it, are these two paragraphs, which is he was accused of it, WWE investigated it, said they couldn't find any evidence.
Yeah.
And then an accuser claimed that they were never involved in the investigation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, he was never charged with anything. And so how do I feel about it? I feel he wasn't charged. WWE said they investigated it and didn't find any evidence. So take that for what it means. Presumably then WWE is saying he was not released over that. I don't know, but if they said they didn't find any evidence, it would be weird to then release him after acknowledging they didn't, or release him for that reason after acknowledging they didn't find any evidence. So that's what I'm saying. I would need to see somewhere where WWE stated that was the reason for his release. But generally, WWE they're not in the habit or tradition of giving reasons for the release of talent. That's not how they operate. So I don't know if he's talking legally here, but that would be really hard to prove that he was released over that, even though that likely is the public sentiment.
I would say this. If you look at how he was presented on NXT television in 2019 through 2020, up until he was no longer on that show at all, and then he was released in 2021 when he was, you can draw your own conclusion as to, assuming there's more, like, you'll never know the actual reason WWE released him because they're never going to release it. If you had to work backward from what you think that reason is, think of what his upside was in 2019 and 2020, and then think of how much of a downside there'd have to be for them to make the decision they made in 2021.
Okay.
That's what I would tell people to think about, while knowing that it's a known unknown.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. And I'd have to take it off Patrick Clark in this, but I'm gonna draw a hypothetical that's just a little bit different. I'm taking this off of Patrick Clark. Say there's a talent in NXT and they're lighting it up, like, you know, they're getting over down there. Everybody is really high. They're getting a major push, and you know they're really doing a great job. They're really high on them. This talent is likely getting ready to go up to the main roster, and is all, you know, is what people are talking about. And then some allegations come out. They say that, you know, they didn't find anything in the investigation, and then for some reason that talent is released. There's got to be a reason for it. And yeah, like kind of what you're getting into, it would, for a talent that had this much upside, there would have to be potentially just as big of a downside somewhere that may or may not be true, but if we're uncovered, could be devastating. That's the kind of decisions a company would have to make in this hypothetical scenario. So hopefully you enjoyed that.
Zachary Moore, our new favorite, he just became a member of the channel.
Hey!
And then he just gifted 10 memberships.
What?
So 10 people in the chat are now going to become members on Zachary Moore.
What? You can do that?
Yes, you can absolutely do that.
Zachary Moore. This is our new guy. This is our new guy right
Zachary
here.
Moore is the guy.
Yo, man. He's gonna be moved up to the partnership track here soon. He just gifted 10 memberships.
He just gifted 10 memberships, yes.
Thank you.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. Welcome aboard and the new 10 members. I can't wait to meet the new 10 members.
I would love to meet the new 10 members. Let's get to our final emailed case, and then we can see how long we have with the chat.
Okay.
So go to share this tab and.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hi, Mr. Otunga. My name is Will, and I run the YouTube channel. It's a small channel with less than 6,000 subscribers, but I'd like to address legal issues and have open discussions. I also work as a paralegal. Oh, nice. So I have full respect for the legal profession and understand how the legal system works. Are you at all familiar with copyright law? Somewhat. There's a specific attorney that has been threatening channels like mine to sue and dox us on behalf of his subscribers. When he does that, he makes misogynistic and discriminatory, racist and sexist remarks about people he dislikes. So this individual is a misogynist, racist, sexist. Okay. This person who's also trying to dox Will. He also makes racist remarks towards me, referring to me as his boy, which I find offensive. That is definitely a loaded word. If anything, I would love to discuss this with you, or even see you do a video on attorneys' code of ethics and how attorneys should act both on and off camera. If you'd like further details about this attorney and some of his actions, I can send you a complaint I sent to the California State Bar, so you can see the exhibits and give your legal opinion. So even if not, still love your channel. I think your theme song is one of the greatest. LOL. Thank you for reading this. Have a great day. Thank you.
I think it may have happened again. So, just to bring back the technical difficulties ticker. To kind of fill the dead air here, we determined that there are 3 different issues happening in this case. One is harassment through doxing. And for those who don't know, on YouTube, when there's a DMCA claim, like a copyright claim on YouTube, you can make a copyright claim for anything. And if YouTube deems it valid, they then send the copyright claim to the person who uploaded the video. They take down the video and then say, you can either keep this video down or you can file a counter notification. A counter notification is the first step in a legal process. If you file the counter notification, you need to have your full name and legal address. And what has been incredibly common under counter notifications is people will create fake copyright claims on videos or on content, because you could do this with an Instagram post. People will do that specifically so that that person then files a counter notification, and then the counter notification has their full legal name and their personal address. There are whole companies that exist to act as LLCs that have PO boxes and LLC names that can respond to a counter notification without a full legal name and a personal address. I looked into this case specifically, and that's what is happening here. And we broke it down into 3 different things. One thing was that this person is doing harassment through doxing, and they're likely doing their doxing through false copyright claims. So those are technically 2 different issues. One is the false copyright claims. The other is the doxing. The other thing I noticed in here, he talked about misogynist, discriminatory, racist, sexist remarks. As far as I'm aware, those are First Amendment protecting unpopular speech. Now, hear me out. What we mean by that is, under the First Amendment, you are allowed to make discriminatory, racist, and sexist remarks. You are not allowed to say those things on YouTube without repercussions per the rules of YouTube. So those are 2 different things. Whether you're violating YouTube's terms of service or community guidelines is different from whether or not you have a First Amendment right to violate those guidelines. So when we're talking legally, this is of the 3 things, this is the thing they're doing that is legal under the law, assuming both, well, they said California bar, and then the third thing is the Attorney Code of Ethics. And I do agree with him, we need to do a whole video about the Attorney Code of Ethics, because that First Amendment protecting unpopular speech, that is for a regular citizen, whereas somebody who is a lawyer and barred under a state as a lawyer is held to a different standard of public speech as it pertains to them continuing to be a lawyer. Speaking of lawyers.
I'm back.
I realized midway through that I went in and pretty well explained these 3 points that we talked about yesterday. So
okay, so you explained it already.
I got all the way down to just Attorney Code of Ethics. So we'll go to the top. Talk about harassment through doxing, and then specifically talk about the other thing. I'll get there. Talk about specifically, first off, harassment through doxing, and then also misrepresenting yourself in a legal action, which is what you're doing when you're doing a false copyright claim.
Right. So as I remember, so Will was saying that whoever this individual is, this other YouTuber, is trying to file a false copyright claim in an effort to then obtain Will's personal information, personal address, to dox him. Now, filing a false claim for this manner, yeah, this is definitely actionable and definitely harassment. I mean, this easily rises to that. Now, I want to tie this in because your question is about, is there a code of ethics and that attorneys have to abide by? And the interesting thing is, under the First Amendment, people have free speech. Like, anybody can say whatever they want legally. So this attorney is legally allowed to make racist and misogynist remarks. Legally, he or she can do that. However, they could face consequences from the state bar. I believe you said that this individual was barred in the state of California. And, I could easily see there being something, some kind of sanctions levied against this individual for making racist remarks, misogynistic remarks, because this would show a level of unfitness, or attorneys have to submit something and have to pass a character and fitness evaluation to be licensed by the state bar. Like seriously, they look through your character and make sure you're a good fit to even have that license to be able to represent people in court. So you have to be of good moral character and fitness. We're going to keep this even just broad. You're as a good moral character and fitness. I don't think filing false copyright claims in order to dock somebody would be viewed as, being under good moral character and fitness. Clearly not. But it also would show the discriminatory remarks that would show a bias in representing people, possibly, or just it would show a bias in being able to adequately perform your job as an attorney. So, yeah, I think that there's a number of things here where, as explained, about this individual is in violation of the attorney code of ethics. Absolutely.
Zachary Moore, EN52, gift 5 more memberships.
What? Who? Hey, Zachary Moore. Yo, I don't know who you are, but I need to after this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Zachary Moore is literally helping to build this channel. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so appreciative of this. Do you have any questions, Zachary? Can I do anything for you? Right? Angelique, Zachary being amazing again, right? Hey, shout out to Zachary Moore, man.
Kevin, I believe that's Villanueva. What is your favorite spot in Boston/Cambridge when you attended Harvard? I'm curious, what's your favorite food spot, and then what's your favorite night spot? Let's break them up.
Oh, okay. Because I had an immediate answer for you. Hemingway Gym, clearly. That was the gym at Harvard. On the law school campus. That was obviously my favorite place. But my favorite place, there was a lot of good places in Cambridge. There was a good burger spot in Cambridge Square, or Harvard Square, I'm sorry, in Cambridge. I'm trying to think. It was a Bartley's. I forget, but there's a local burger spot. People know what I'm talking about. That was great there. I liked the campus spots in Cambridge. I also like going to Somerville. They had good restaurants there too. Nightlife. I used to go to the theater district. Like, what was the name of that? Was it called Aria? I don't know, but I used to look. I was in law schools. I was right out of college. We used to went out and partied. I mean, you guys study that hard, we're gonna party hard. So we had a good time. I really enjoyed my time Harvard Law School nightlife. Shout out to my guy Rob from law school. He knows who he is. Knows about the times we hung out. Dan, Ben, all those guys.
Kevin is asking because they attended Boston College in Wellesley.
Yeah,
like 25 minutes away. Waltham had some good food spots.
Waltham, yeah. Oh yeah, and Boston College, yeah. No, we used to run into people from Boston College all the time. Man, you really can't go wrong downtown. I got to go back to Boston and see what they got downtown now. But food's always great in Boston.
So Zachary Moore wants you to get
legal seafood. Sorry, legal seafood. Got to go there too. The clam chowder.
Chowder. Zachary Moore, EN5T. You get your ass in the ring, bro. I miss you, man.
Man.
And hey now with 2 W's joining us.
Hey!
As a channel member. The Uriah wants to buy Zachary a beer.
Right? Can I buy? Yeah. I want to buy Zachary a beer too. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, Zach. You see how happy you're making everybody? This is dope, man. Thank you for contributing. Thank you to everybody who's contributed to the stream, by the way. This is really fun and encouraging. And I like what we're doing here. One more match. Yeah. Hey man, you never know. Why stop at one?
Sean Johnson. I'm pretty sure you'd already have to be on the plane.
Well, now you know why I use a green screen.
That explains why why the internet keeps crashing out.
Hey, don't give it away, Steve. Don't give it away. This United Wi-Fi,
Oh, you're not on Etihad, the $60K. I was watching a video about this recently. There's a $60,000 residence flight that there's on an Etihad flight, which is one of the more expensive airlines to begin with. There are, I believe, only less than a dozen first class seats, and then there's only one residence seat. And when I say residence, I mean it is a small apartment with a 5-course meal inside that flight, and it averages around $60K for that flight. Sometimes you can get it like upper or lower. So you're doing a good job selling it because you're on one right now. On your way.
Excuse me. Once we're done here, I'm gonna go take a shower in my private bath here, and eat these lamb chops they have for me over. Yeah, put that right there, please. So,
Jericho's number 30. You're number 29.
Yeah, and Jericho is a little salty that he didn't get the resident suite, but he's in first class. Don't worry about it.
Well,
ain't that right, Chris? He's on the lower level, but he can hear me down the steps.
John Y 5985. What is your favorite law movie and your favorite law television show?
The Devil's Advocate and Suits.
Hell yeah!
I love The Devil's Advocate. I love Al Pacino. Count was great. That was just such a great movie, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And Suits, I haven't even seen the entire series, but I've seen enough of the seasons. But what I loved is, like, if you ever go back and you watch the very first episode of Suits, where Mike is like race around and he goes into it's the Charles Hotel. It's a legitimate hotel in Cambridge. And he walks in and just finds himself in this interview with Harvey. You might think that's weird. Like, how does this even happen? No, that's a real thing at Harvard Law School, where it's like an entire week and the top law firms from around the world, they try to book rooms in the Charles Hotel right there in Harvard Square. And then the law students come over and we literally can just walk through the halls and choose whatever door we want. It's like choose your own adventure. You walk in and the firm tries to sell you. And the thing of it is, they want us. So it's like we're applying for jobs, but we're not. What was cool about this, these law firms are applying with us. Whatever firm we choose, we get. They are here wanting Harvard Law School. This was the coolest thing and experience. And also, like, I couldn't believe this. I was like, wow, my degree is that valuable. Like literally, I could say I had my choice of the top for whatever firm I wanted to go to. I'll go here. I want to go to Chicago. All right, I'll choose this. I'm only choosing among the tops because that's how important it was for them to hire somebody from Harvard Law School just with that name on your degree. So that's why Suits is my favorite. It's a great show too. Very, very good. Shout out to Harvey. That character is dope. Harvey Specter. I don't know why I'm shouting out a fictional character, but
Harvey Specter is real to me, damn it. Also, y'all can skip Suits LA. I've tried.
I haven't started. I'm glad you told me that though. Unless, and until they cast me in it. Now, see, that's interesting because
they canceled it. Don't worry about it.
I'm a lawyer in real life, but I'm an actor. So like I actually could show up on Suits or Suits LA and play a lawyer. Or I could play myself. That'd be interesting too.
OBD is raw. I think we're gonna have to make this shirt. Better Call Otunga.
Better Call Otunga. I love it. Like Better Call Saul.
Have you seen Better Call Saul?
Hold on. Does Better Call Saul, does that count as a legal show?
I would count that as a legal show. Everyone has their own opinion.
That's easily number one then. Sorry. I like Suits, but Better Call Saul is one of my, top 5 shows, like probably top 6. Anyway, yeah, that would be number 1 show then. Sorry, yeah, Better Call Otunga. We should make those shirts.
That's easy peasy. Let's go with this one. It was close to an hour ago. CM Richie 04. Can an employee sue a toxic boss under a director and officer's claim, but not a company, dismissing the company from wrongdoing?
So suing the boss, but not the company. That would be a personal. So I guess. So what it said, I guess they're meaning sue under civilly. You can sue anybody for anything. You can try to, but like I'm not sure. From a financial standpoint, why the employee would choose to sue the boss instead of the company, because I would imagine the company has deeper pockets than the boss because the company is the one who signs the boss's paycheck. So unless it was just principle, yeah, for that reason, but otherwise, I would think it would make more sense to sue the company.
So I think there's an insurance product called a D&O claim.
Oh,
So that if you're a director or an officer, this makes sense to me that if you're a director or an officer of a company, you can just pay a monthly insurance fee. And then if something arises, instead of you being able to sue the company or sue the director or the officers individually, you just file a claim with the insurance company. And CM Ritchie, let me know if we're way off on what you're talking about. But that's what this looks like. Like breach of duty, misrepresentation of company assets, regulatory. That you're filing a claim with the insurance company directly instead of action, or I guess technically you're suing the insurance company if you don't like their number.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Let us know, CM Ritchie, if you know what exactly you're asking, or we answered that.
Vampire Kirill. Weird question, but what can Rhea Ripley do when I make jokes about kidnapping her to cook for her, parenthetical, but I'm from Bulgaria? Where do you want to start?
This just took a turn. First of all, I would not advise that. Again, I'm not giving legal advice, but people should not be, making jokes about kidnapping. I don't really see how that's funny, as that is going to, be triggering, and especially in a climate where, like, especially, female superstars, like they deal with stalking that is, and male too, that is very real and very scary, very potentially dangerous. And so I'm assuming, you say you're joking, but why do that when there are actual real cases out there? So why put more anxiety on a person, especially like if I assume you are a fan of Rhea Ripley's. Like, I don't know if you're joking about kidnapping her because you like her so much, but that's not how it's going to come across. That's not how it comes across to me. I'm sorry, but it's probably not a good idea. But what can she do? Definitely report you to the authorities, even report you to the authorities in Bulgaria. And it depends on what you do. If it's just about, making jokes, probably nothing, but it depends on the manner in which you make them, where you make them, do you publish them? Is she aware of the jokes? How is she made aware of the jokes? Did you make her aware of the jokes? Did you just tweet her? Did you show up outside of her residence and make jokes? Did you show up? Were you waiting at an airport by baggage claim and show up and make jokes to kidnap her? Or did you tweet the jokes about kidnapping her and then you actually follow up and go see her somewhere, meet her somewhere, or, follow her down to make these jokes? Are you waiting for her, when she goes to her car after, a show to make these jokes? Like, you see where I'm going with this? I think you can figure it out.
You can always just call her mommy. Like, you don't have to threaten to kidnap her so that you can cook for her to show your appreciation for mommy. You can just say, I appreciate mommy.
I forgot about that. To cook for her. I do wonder what he's going to cook.
And I think, and like, without knowing the post, I'd imagine the most innocent version of that post is, I love you so much, mommy. I want to cook for you. Like,
okay. There's a distinction between that and then, and it's wording, but also how it's perceived. Kidnapping, I mean, there's other ways you could say that are less threatening, I would say, less scary, but interesting choice of words.
Sean Johnson appreciates mommy. So Zachary Moore.
What?
$100.
Zachary Moore, what are you doing here, man? Thank you.
He's just pulling an Oprah at this.
What's going on?
So
thank you. Right? He's the GOAT. Hey, Zachary Moore's the GOAT, man. It's no.
That is the end.
No
I appreciate knowing when the end is.
Hey, well, Zachary Moore, you have more than done enough. I appreciate it so much. I'm so humbled by this. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Thank you very, very much. I'm grateful for this.
So to bring it back to one of our email cases, Joel from Minnesota just commented, "Thanks for the advice. I do dim my screen also, but it's prolonged use of the icing isn't constant, but most shopping apps have white screens. Thank you for your advice."
Thank you, Joel. Yeah, I hope you know, we're able to help. Man, that sounds awful too. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what, you know, what Temu does. And in the meantime, I wonder, if you still want to use that app, if you could get like a screen protector that makes it darker. I don't know, just trying to come up with things, because if you clearly still really like the app, just in the meantime.
The desktop version should adhere to dark mode, and I don't know, I haven't tried this myself, but you might be able to try to access the desktop version on your phone's browser and then just ignore the pop-up that tries to bring you back to the app. I'm not sure if that's a solution at all, but if you're going to continue to use Temu, that would be one of the ways. But also, I'd recommend in general, the second you open the Temu app, they very much love to take control.
Yeah.
And that's, in general, I'm not a fan of apps taking that much control in general. Like down to the notifications. Like, I don't have any notifications outside of like the phone app. Drug-free romance. What's the silver title behind that Slammy?
Jerk of the month. Yeah, I won the jerk of the month. The magazine photo is up there too, hanging next to the Muscle and Fitness cover. But yeah, there's a title right there. So I was very proud of winning that because, you know, that shows that I was the top heel for the month. And, you know, as a heel, I really prided myself. I was really proud of that. I don't know why more people weren't, but like, I was really proud to win that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool belt too. Tight.
Really cool belt. At a certain point, it became a boot. Realized I looked into it.
They made it.
This one has a green strap and yours has a black strap. But at a certain point, it stopped being a belt and then became a boot with like a trophy to it, which I think is less cool. But I think also they wanted less belts.
I kind of remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So the Uriah01 wants to know, can YouTube be held liable for all the scam products and ads that are going on?
Okay, what are the scam products and ads that we're talking about, that we're referring to?
I mean, anyone with enough money to run an ad on YouTube could run a scam product through YouTube until YouTube decides not to take their money.
Yeah.
I'd imagine the end... if I had to guess, and I know you're the lawyer, if I had to guess, I'd say there's a terms and service either explicitly or implicitly that you agree to as a user when using YouTube. And and I'm sure there's language in that terms of service that expressly state we are held harmless if you click an ad that goes off our website. And then that product that's off our website is a scam.
Right. Oh, and if that's what's happening here, yeah. So like, if they're just advertising on YouTube, that's free speech essentially. And then whatever you do from that, the advertisement, that's away from YouTube at that point. If you're clicking on another site and do whatever, YouTube they have no control over that and shouldn't be held liable for that. And I don't think there's anything about that. So yeah, that would probably be in the terms and conditions where it would spell that out as well.
This next one, Jair. My dad is got in a car accident in an Uber. How do you think the lawsuit's going to go? He's already gotten an attorney and it's ongoing.
Jair, thanks for reaching out. Hope your dad is doing well. My thoughts and prayers. Hope he heals up soon. I need to know more information. How do I think the lawsuit is going to go? So if your dad he got in a bad car accident in an Uber. So I'm assuming your dad was not the driver. If he was the driver, I mean, that clearly changes things, but I'm assuming he was a passenger. He's already gotten an attorney. How's the lawsuit? Well, it depends on who he's suing. I imagine he's suing Uber. And, I don't know if he was injured, but if he was injured, that definitely makes it easier, to collect here. But clearly, your dad was not at fault and is a victim here. So depending on the facts, but I would assume with the hypothetical I'm using here, it would probably end up in his favor, assuming that he is injured and, obviously went to the hospital and can document that. Yeah. Hopefully that helps. David Otami to AEW. You never know. Hey, Tony Khan, you got my number.
Did that one. This good one. Shiva MD5QH. Hello, how long should I study for the LSAT?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask for that. As you know, I kind of took it on a whim with my dad after we talked about it to see how I would do. The other thing is studying for the LSAT. It's tricky to call. Like for me, I didn't really consider it studying. Like I took a practice exam and just tried to work on my time because like the way it worked for me was either your brain thinks that way and you can do it or it doesn't. Was how it was for me. Like there wasn't anything specifically like it was different than studying for the MCAT. Like you didn't have to remember or the bar exam. You don't have to remember specific things or specific part of law. Like you haven't been taught that. It's more problem solving and strategy and logic. So just familiarizing yourself with the kind of questions, I think that's probably the best way, to study for it and take practice exams and work on your time. Because that's the other thing is like it's a time test. And, a lot of people don't get to all the questions and don't finish. So yeah, that would be my advice on that. Though good luck. Good luck. Let me know how you do.
Are there practice exams online or do you have to have a proctored practice exam?
Now that I don't know, because back when I took the LSAT, there weren't any practice exams online, but it seems like nowadays you can find anything online. So I'm sure somebody could get their hands on one somewhere.
Zachary Moore, much love. He has to go work the night shift.
Oh, my man, Zachary Moore. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for all the love. Enjoy work. And, hopefully we'll see you again on the next one. I'm sure we'll hear from you soon. I hope we do. But again, hey, everybody, you got to give it up for Zachary Moore. Give him a round of applause. Like, for real. He's a real one. So thank you, Zachary Moore.
So let's just run through a couple quick ones here. Captain Commenter, can I be sued for slander if I say my sister abused me as a child, but I've got no proof because it was 40 years ago?
No proof. Well, I mean, it's not slander if it's true and if it happened, but it would have to be proven. That's the thing. So could you be sued for slander if you didn't have any proof? Technically, yes, you could be sued for it. And you could lose, if you didn't have any proof and it looked like it was slanderous statements that you made. But it's the thing of it is, it's technically not slander if it's true. So remember that, but it's all a matter of like what we said earlier, what can be proven in court. So that's the thing to remember. Hopefully that
also
helps.
to your question as well, you can be sued for slander if you have proof. It's just a matter of whether somebody wants to sue you for slander.
Right.
Not a legal question, but we were talking about this yesterday. Jay the Gamer 196. Why did you guys attack Undertaker in 2010? I was in attendance and I have been needing answers ever since.
All right, I'm gonna tell you the honest answer. I have no idea. I was in attendance and I also need answers. I was in it. I was in the segment. I don't know why. It was one of the coolest things ever. They're like, we found out we got to work with Undertaker. Like, we get to work with Taker. Like, I took a punch from Taker, took a bump, rolled down the hill. Like, it was awesome. It was awesome. And like, we buried him. Like, yo, this was dope. Vince was super involved in this, like the rehearsal. And so what did they tell us at the time? Nothing. I remember asking, like, okay, why are we doing this? Well, we'll see. Things could change. That's what they always say. Things could change. That's code for, we don't know why we're doing this. We don't know what the hell we wrote. We're just having you do this to do this. We want to put Taker on the show. Want to do something with you guys? Yeah. So I don't know. I would like to tell you that there was an actual plan. I hope there was an actual plan. If I'm being realistic with you, knowing them, there may not have been. That that wasn't out of the ordinary for them to do and creative at that time. So, man, like it could have been cool. I wish it would have been something. Next time I see Taker, I'm gonna ask him about that. Shout out to Taker. Shout out to Mark. Super cool. I always love talking to him, man.
So Saturday backstage in Riyadh.
I'm not supposed to let you know that he's going to be here. So, but maybe that's where we'll talk.
Let's get to some more. Jose Buzz 5112. Does the fair use rule in the United States protect a content creator from companies outside of America in terms of claims to the audiovisual rights that are in the videos? As someone who's been a channel manager since probably 2017, I would tell you that whatever the most restrictive law is globally, that's what all the worldwide platforms will follow. So when you're saying fair use in general, yes, if you're Australian, fair use doesn't apply to the US's fair use rule doesn't apply to you. However, if you're an Australian on YouTube, you then have to follow YouTube's rules, and YouTube follows the US's rules.
Right.
Sorry, you're the lawyer.
No, well done, Steve. I think you handle that perfectly. Said it better. This is what you do too, though. So, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, you're going to follow YouTube's terms of services then, and whatever they have in there.
But that said, if you had a private website that you were hosting yourself, it would then fall to where those servers are physically located. And that, yes, if you had a server that was physically in Australia and you were physically in Australia and you weren't using something else that had to follow different laws, yes, that's how you get around. But then at that point, how are people finding your website?
Good point.
Zachary Moore gifted one more.
I thought you were going to work.
16.
Zach, my man. What?
He's just,
come on. Hey.
He said one more, one last person to support.
Hit the like, peace, I'm out. Thank you. How do I like? He's asking me to hit the like, hit the hype, hit whatever.
Got it. Hit all the buttons
for him. Hit everything for him. Thank you, Zachary Moore.
Captain Commenter, which living up to your name, is there such a thing as unrestricted power of attorney?
Unrestricted? I'm not so certain about that. There's usually restrictions for most everything. It's hard to say something is completely unrestricted, but it depends on what the power of attorney is. Because usually, if somebody has to sign a power of attorney, it clearly lays out like what kinds of things are under their control and what they're doing. So there can be few restrictions. I mean, it depends on how it's drawn up, I would say. So I don't think there's necessarily a thing as unrestricted power of attorney per se, but in practice, in essence, you get pretty near that, I would imagine, in certain cases.
And, well, I guess the question is, what restrictions exist under power of attorney?
What restrictions?
Like if I gave you power of attorney, if I gave you blanket power of attorney, what restrictions would still apply to you?
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend, because the things, if you're talking about like, making decisions on somebody's benefit, because clearly a power of attorney is signed when somebody usually this is before they're going to be able to make decisions for themselves. And so the things, presumably the restriction should be the decisions are made, for the betterment of, said individual. However, it depends on where the line is drawn there. It's going to kind of take specific examples for this, but yeah.
They're both Captain Commenter. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on the Philly grave robber case?
Not familiar with this.
I'm from Philadelphia and I've not heard of this case. Apparently, Jonathan Gerlach is 34 and is facing 500 criminal charges following an investigation into repeated break-ins at Mount Moriah Cemetery in Yeadon. According to documents, burglaries began in November and continued through late December, targeting both above-ground mausoleums and underground burial vaults across multiple sections of the cemetery. That's him. That's his septum piercing. That's his neck tattoo. It's a lot of questions. I don't know who to turn to. Barbara Kilmartin, who has family members buried there. And you could tell I'm from Philadelphia by how I said buried. Volunteer Friends of Mount Moriah, which is a volunteer group, maintains the cemetery. Investigators documented that a rope tied to a tree branch fitted with a carabiner was found hanging into one mausoleum, positioned in a way that suggests the suspect rappelled down approximately 10 feet to access the underground crypts. So it sounds like they have like a series of underground crypts.
Yeah.
That once you can rappel down once, you can get to most or all of them or a lot of them. So, and then this person came back and then, but then so 500 counts.
Yeah, I want to know what he was stealing. Like what?
Yeah,
what
like
are these crypts of value? I'm so curious.
That's worth. What fascinates me is like, is any of that worth the trouble? Because it's a 10-foot rappel into a dark crypt,
right? And
then it's not like the coffins are just in the crypt. You then have to like get through likely cement to get at the coffin. That you're then opening the coffin to get at a decomposed body that might have a diamond ring.
Right. And that's the thing. Cause I'm assuming like, are we talking about jewelry here? And I don't know, like, I have no idea though. I'm sure there's cases where, you know, people are buried with really expensive jewelry, but I would think the family in a lot of cases would hang on to that. Although I do see it's interesting. They found a Monster Energy drink that had his fingerprints and DNA there. So yeah, this was he needed an energy drink to keep going. This was at night, you know, rappelling down 10 feet and, you know, going through 500 graves. Man, this is wild.
Somewhere there's an executive at the C4 company going, whew, God, thank God.
Yeah. Thank goodness he wasn't drinking ours.
It's a Monster guy, not a Celsius. Guys wouldn't do this.
But this is wild. Thank you for asking about this. I was not familiar with this. I didn't know that grave robbing was still a thing. I don't know why it was ever a thing, but it seems like I'm not advocating anybody to go in crime or to be a robber or burglar, but I would think there's probably other more lucrative things, you know, you could do a bit or more lucrative streams of income, criminal streams of income. Anyway, I digress.
So it sounds like they say burglarized, but I think it's just what are you burglarizing?
Multiple sets of remains missing. You stealing the bodies? Wait a minute, Steve. We've got this all wrong.
Right?
This guy, this nut isn't stealing jewelry. He's stealing bones and bodies. He's stealing people.
Nope.
This just took a real turn.
Straight to jail.
What is he doing with the body? Look at this. Investigators uncovered, including posts and human bones and skull cell. He's selling them. Mailing a possible teen and a baboon and a monkey. Oh, this is Steve. What are we getting into here? Wait.
Blame comment.
Riding a Harley and slinging skulls. Hey, Undertaker might want to take that from him.
Bro.
Wow.
Is there a huge marketplace for human bones and skulls?
I was literally just going to ask you that. Like, I wonder how much money he's making. Because somebody wanted a teenager. Like, who knows? I mean, you know what? I guess I stand corrected. Because I was saying I thought there would be something more lucrative. Maybe human bones and skulls, that could be very, very lucrative on the black market. Meanwhile, we think he's here, you know, looking for jewelry and rings and, you know, pearl necklaces. Though he's not. Looking for femurs, clavicles, I don't know, skulls. He's looking for everything. Some ulnas, radii. Man. tibias.
Joe R 860 bringing us back,
Papa John,
bringing
though.
us back to wrestling.
There you go. Good one. Good one. Yo, what are you commenters thinking out here too? Like about this? Is this wild to everybody else? Is wild to you guys or only me? That I'm just now finding out this guy has like gone through 500 graves and selling bodies and bones. And oh man, oh my gosh, God forbid. But like, could you imagine if somebody you knew or God forbid, like a relative, like their bones were stolen by this wacko and sold?
I'm wondering, without even Googling it, that has to be a law, right? You can't do that. Like beyond.
What? No, you can't steal bones.
Right?
No, that grave robbing, because grave robbing is illegal,
Yes.
but like to actual steal the bones, you can't do that.
That explains the 500 counts when he only did it for 11 months. It's because it's a bunch of counts for every time he went in, and then a bunch of counts more for every time he sold or tried to sell a bone.
I got a hypothetical, but I've never thought about this before. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I never thought about this before. But it's for fun. Like, so let's say that this individual stole an entire human skeleton. Could he be charged with kidnapping? Theft of a person? Like what? Or no, because the person is not alive. I'd imagine. Yeah, desecration of a corpse. But it would be interesting, like to see like somebody. Well, you can't because the person is not alive. But yeah, technically, be stealing a. Well, just human remains, what they would call after that. All right, it wasn't as interesting of a hypothetical as I thought. But
no, it's still, and this wouldn't be a great.
I answered it too quick.
And I was also thinking, actually, grave robbery has been much more common at the beginning of this country versus where we're at now. In the 250 years of this country, grave robbing was very, very common at the beginning, and it's probably more common than you or I realize currently. Probably. That like, yeah, there's definitely laws about it, but I am always curious where are the Airbud rules.
Oh, I got one for you that we're not thinking
please.
about. You know what's terrifying and why this could be so lucrative? And you just made me think of this because, yeah, like 100 years ago, it seems like this was probably more prevalent. And then it wouldn't be so prevalent anymore. Until now, there could be a new upswing. Because how do we know this individual isn't stealing these bones and these remains and selling them in order for people to make clones? Or to take the DNA and do something with the DNA, clone the DNA. Who knows? I don't know. Put this in, blend this with AI. Well, what if they started using these bones on like AI robots? Think about that. Giving them real human like DNA, some real bones. I'm really extrapolating this. You know, taking a little bit of a little bit of a liberty here for fun, but also though it. You know, it sounds wild, but is it really? Is it really that wild nowadays? I mean, the guy is stealing body parts for something.
I would also say, imagine the bodies weren't from 1940, but they were from 1840. And imagine it was once a cemetery, but no longer a cemetery. And also imagine they weren't mentally ill, but or likely mentally ill. And imagine they purchased the land that happened to have the bodies. And then they sold them to museums. Ooh, somehow that's all legal.
Yeah, because they would technically own the remains. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's wild. Yeah. And you said technically that's legal, huh?
I would imagine that is whatever the law around a defunct cemetery is. That's where it would fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Angelique, I grew up in Louisiana, and grave robbing was so common that they had to make them above ground over time.
Oh, that's why. Oh, I've been to Louisiana, and I've seen the cemeteries there. Wow, I didn't realize that. So that's why they had to start making them above ground because of the grave robbing. So wait, it's harder to, to rob graves or mausoleums above ground than it is below?
Well, I guess it's because like a mausoleum is like made of concrete. So I'd imagine if you build a giant concrete box, it's not that it's harder to get into the giant concrete box. It's probably more time consuming because like you could, if it was a 10-foot hole, you could dig a 10-foot hole starting at 1 a.m. and then get at the body before anyone would see you. Whereas if it was a giant mausoleum built out of concrete, it would probably take you hours and a lot of noise to get into the giant box of concrete. That's my logic. I don't know.
But I was gonna say, okay, I guess I'm imagining a mausoleum that has a door on it, or like where families come and visit. Whereas, like, it seems to me the only thing you would have to get around is picking the lock or busting the door down, which to me seems like it would be a lot more efficient than digging 10 feet into the ground. Like digging that up, like that's not for a body or 6 feet in the ground. Like that's not an easy thing. That's going to take a little while, but I don't know. The material is harder to destroy and longer to do. So you're right. That's wild.
So then also,
wait a minute.
Like flooding and sea level. Apparently, if you dig somebody, apparently also if you put a casket 6 feet underground over a very long period of time, it's no longer 6 feet above 6 feet underground. It's closer to 3 or 5 or 2.
Gotcha.
Like, so the hole is even less.
I don't know. I mean, I still feel like it would be more difficult to dig it up out of the dirt. I guess it's easy to open it up. They're probably not even locked. Coffins and in the vault, probably not locked. It's just, dirt on top of it. But yeah, so I guess it would be easier.
Full human skeleton goes for $7,000 to $10,000.
Black Mamba 32.
Go. I'll be honest.
I'm not going to question why you know this, but I'll take you at your word. Sorry?
That's not worth it to me. I'll be real.
No, I would say that too. I actually thought it would go for more than that.
Like, because every man wants to be in a heist film. So anytime you hear about a potential heist, you think about it as like, well, what's the score? And I'm like,
$1,000.
I don't know. Maybe if you had this guy didn't have a fence, that's why he got caught. And he dealt in way too much volume.
Yeah. Although you think about it, if he stole 500 of those, that adds up now. That adds up.
But then you're working 2 jobs. It's the one job is grave robber, and then the next job is bone salesman. Like you might as well apply and be a car salesman. Like if you're doing 2 jobs like that, you're working a bunch. The whole point is to not work, I guess.
Yeah. See, you know what I think? I think there's probably a bone salesman who hires different independent grave robber contractors out.
Okay.
Bones, and then just sell them all to this bone salesman for price, and then that individual, is in charge of selling them on the black market or
that with the fence, the wholesaler.
In the movie that I write about this,
right? Well, and then also if it's 7 to 10, that's actually a pretty big margin. That like you could probably wholesale your skeletons around 5 or 6.
Yeah,
I think we might. I think the live stream may have taken the turn if that's where we're at.
Hey, I don't mind the turn it took, though.
Oh, no.
This is where I've learned something new today. I did not know there was a black market for selling bones and human remains.
Also, to land the plane, in that case, you should not file an LLC. You should just file a bunch of Schedule Cs on your taxes.
Yeah, definitely. Good one. Oh man, this was so fun. I really enjoyed this.
So let's see what other questions we have.
All right.
I see 2 here. One from one. Let's do them both. Let's do this one first, which is from Captain Commenter. Why doesn't alimony go both ways? I know a bro who gave up his career as a rock star to be in a marriage.
It can, and by alimony, that is when if people don't know, when there's a divorce, and that's spousal support. In theory, it should go both ways, and it can. Traditionally, in this country, though, it tends to be the males paying the females, and it's very difficult for that to go the other way. But it in theory and legally, it is supposed to go both ways.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the court norms around alimony not always going both ways is a historical overcorrection.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, historical overcorrection on that part. that's something that should be, looked at today and case by case basis nowadays. So this is where a good attorney comes in, a good family law attorney on both sides.
And we have one final question from Wisdom Expands. Hey, can someone sue an ICE agent for unlawful detainment and arrest? And do they actually have the authority to detain someone without a warrant signed by a judge?
That is tricky. Because there's what's legal and then like what pragmatically, what practically will happen here also. ICE agents in a way they're deputized federal agents. So like it's similar to like the FBI or the CIA. Like this is a federal agency, and these individuals were just like deputized. Like here, this is what you have now. These are your powers that you can do. But again, they're federally regulated and not by the state. And so that's the thing is like, because they're federally regulated, they can kind of just pop up wherever they want. And that's why you have this situation like in Minnesota, where the government, they're saying, we don't want you here. The state is clearly against this, but they can't really do much because it's federal and they're just going right in there. So presumably, let's say, an ICE agent is accused of something or but they essentially have President Trump backing them. So do they actually have the authority to detain anyone without a warrant? That's kind of a gray area. It depends. It depends. It really depends, because there's a lot of things that they don't actually have the authority to do, but if you can't stop them from doing it, do they have the authority? That's kind of the way I would put it here. Kind of depends on how you look at it. You know what I mean?
Also, when we're talking about specifically warrant signed by a judge, there's another issue with ICE in this country, but definitely Minnesota right now, where they use an administrative warrant as a reason to enter someone's home. And as far as I'm aware, constitutionally, an administrative warrant is not enough for a federal agent to enter your home. Is that your understanding of it?
Yeah. In my knowledge of this, that's the case too. Can't be an administrative warrant. There needs to be, search warrant. There needs to be a purpose for them going into your apartment. And that's why the judge would sign on this, saying, basically legitimizing, yes, there is a legitimate need to enter. So it depends. It depends on the kind of warrant that they have. Has to be more than administrative.
And I guess I didn't put it in the notes to mention that right now we're streaming to both the Otunga Law channel and the Otunga Wrestler channel. And all the interaction we've been having is on the Otunga Wrestler channel. But we should probably mention to everybody that there is an Otunga Law channel. There
is. And we've just started it for this purpose. You start seeing stuff like this on the Otunga Law channel, and it's going to be strictly about law. Hope you guys come over. Make sure if you're members here on the Otunga Wrestling channel, make sure you subscribe and come over to the Otunga Law so you don't miss anything over here, because we're going to start separating the content up. Thank you.
I'm gonna make a community post as well. Let's see if she becomes subscriber number 1.
Oh, Angelique, you can be subscriber number 1. But race over there before somebody tries to beat you. Don't forget about Where's my man Zachary? Oh, he went to work. He'll find out. I'm sure. We'll make sure he finds out.
But I think that leaves us in a good place. We went well over double Broadway.
Yes, we did. Yeah, this was great. This was a good first time doing this. I'm glad people are, getting a feel for what it's like and the questions, and people started submitting great questions. So the next one, I just imagine it's going to be even bigger and better. Who knows what we're going to find out? I mean, we found out about selling remains on the black market today. So that wasn't something that I had on my bingo card this morning, but here we are. Bingo.